we're starting off with The Rock, who has been trading barbs on social media with Grayson Waller, leading to speculation of some kind of feud between the two. With several of The Rock's projects being duds as of late, the Great One is in need of some positive publicity, and plans for The Rock's return are in motion, at least on WWE's end. According to sources close to the situation, WWE is currently planning on bringing The Rock to SummerSlam to have a segment with Waller, similar to what we saw with John Cena in London. The belief is that by coming in for just one segment, The Rock won't have to spend months training, as it was the prospect of a tight training schedule that led to his match with Roman Reigns not happening. Of course, any plan WWE has hinges on The Rock being available, but with the ongoing writers' strike affecting Hollywood, his schedule may be much more free than it once was. Fans were surprised that WWE allowed Waller to reference The Rock on last week's SmackDown, and there's a reason for that. And are you excited to see the Great One in Detroit next month? As we've seen several times, WWE loves changing the name of superstars, often by taking away part of their name, but this week, a name change to a Raw superstar saw their name get even longer. As fans saw with this week's Raw, Bronson Reed was promoted for his match as Big Bronson Reed, and given the size of the former North American champion, it's a fair assessment. Though Samantha Irvin called Reed by his original name, the commentators pushed the Big nickname during the match, and while it isn't the biggest change we've seen to a name, it's one that the WWE Universe will have to get used to. During last week's SmackDown, Bobby Lashley made his return to TV and instantly teased doing something with Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. After inviting both men to talk with him, many predicted a new Hurt Business, and it seems that could indeed be the case. Dave Meltzer noted during Wrestling Observer Radio that Bobby Lashley is going to start up a new stable, but didn't mention if this will be the Hurt Business or a new faction without MVP around. WWE had seemingly been holding off on Lashley's return so they could continue with the Bray Wyatt feud, but that doesn't appear to be the case. And who would you like to see join this new faction? In a TikTok video, the pair of twins can be showcasing a dance routine, and it's clear that this is supposed to symbolize the passing of the torch from the Bellas to the Cavinders. The Cavinder twins were big names in collegiate basketball and social media stars prior to joining WWE, and with the pair signed to contracts, expect even bigger things with Haley and Hannah from here on. More from Raw, as this week's show saw a title change, and for a veteran superstar who has been with the company for 8 years, this win was a long time coming. On the show, Sonya Deville captured her first title in WWE when she and Chelsea Green became the new women's tag team champions, and the pair even got pyro during their celebration. Both Deville and Green came into WWE as part of Tough Enough 2015, and with this win, Green becomes the 4th woman ever to win a WWE Women's Tag Team title and Impact Knockouts Tag title. This was a historic night for both women, one that neither Deville nor Green will ever forget, and now the pair will have to work on warding off all challengers to their women's tag team titles. Now, you never know who could show up to Monday Night Raw, and this week, fans saw Titus O'Neil make his unannounced return to the Red brand. On Raw, O'Neil donned the commentary headset for the first time since WrestleMania and aided Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves calling the action for the Viking Rules match. It is believed that O'Neil is set to take on a new role in WWE after serving as a company ambassador behind the scenes for several years, but Titus himself is yet to confirm any new role. It's been nearly 3 years since O'Neil competed on Raw, a 2020 loss to then US champion Bobby Lashley, and who knows when we'll see the inaugural 24/7 champion back on our screens again. When Trish Stratus was a full-time superstar, it was rare for women to have a stipulation match that was anything other than a bra and panties match, or one that saw the women roll around in liquids. Obviously, a lot has changed since then, and Stratus was able to compete in her first Money in the Bank ladder match earlier this week, and now Trish has her eyes on another stipulation. While speaking with TVA Sports, Trish made it clear that she really wants to compete in a cage match and isn't exactly picky when it comes to what kind of cage. She said, "Imprison me in a cage. I've never had a cage match, and it doesn't matter what kind of cage. The one without a roof, Hell in a Cell, or an elimination chamber. There were so many things we weren't allowed to do back then. I remember being hit with a chair once and everyone was freaking out, and I was like, my goodness, can you just hit me with a chair? So now I want a cage." Stratus should be careful what she wishes for, as since May, she's been aligned with Zoe Stark, and a cage match may neutralize the involvement of the recent call-up from NXT. As for now, Stratus is engaged in a feud with Becky Lynch, with a match between the two expected for SummerSlam, and that match could be in a cage if the Canadian has anything to say about it. It was less than a year ago that Madison Rayne signed a deal with Tony Khan that has seen her work for both AEW and ROH, but it's been over 3 months since fans saw her in the ring. In June, Tony Khan said that Rayne had been sidelined with a foot injury, and during a virtual signing event this week, Rayne confirmed that she suffered a broken foot during her latest match for ROH. Despite the injury, Rayne says she is doing everything she can to get healed in time for All In next month, and we're wishing her the best on her road to recovery. Last year also saw Saraya sign with AEW mere months after she left WWE, and it was made clear at the time that her exit from the promotion was not her own decision. Instead, WWE decided to not renew Saraya's deal, ending her 11 years under contract, and in an interview with Inside the Ropes, the ex-Page spoke about her exit from WWE. "I was told I was never going to wrestle again. I was told that, so I kinda had that in my head. But you know how every wrestler, you can never tell them no when it comes to wrestling. So the past 5 years or so, it's been really difficult. But at the same time, I'm in a really good mental space, which has been a really positive thing. If I would have lost my career a couple of years prior to that, I don't know if I would still be around right now. So I'm very, very fortunate in a way where it happened at a time where I have a really good community around me, like my boyfriend, my friends, my family, I have a really good, stable community around me that's always so positive. I was sitting on my ass for a couple of years, which was the most frustrating thing ever. I wanted to do media. I wanted to go there and do stuff, but I couldn't. And plus, there was a pandemic, so they really didn't have that much use for me since I wasn't wrestling. They were like, what are you gonna do? We could always do Zooms and all this kind of fun stuff. Anyway, after a while I got the call from John Laurinaitis, and he was just like, we're not gonna renew your contract. And I was like, that's totally fine. I don't wrestle anymore. I don't know what you would have done with me. And that's perfectly fine. We left on really good terms, which I appreciate from Vince McMahon and Johnny. Triple H wasn't told about Saraya leaving WWE until the decision had been made, and did offer her the chance to return and wrestle again when he took over as head of talent. It was ultimately too late for the game, as Saraya had already been in long-term negotiations with AEW, and while she's out with an injury now, expect big things in her future as an all-elite star. During the post-show press conference for AAA Triple Mania Tijuana, Don Callis was legitimately attacked by a person present, resulting in the manager suffering injuries to his neck and ankle. Callis was said to be livid over the attack, which wasn't part of the show, but on Wrestling Observer Radio, it was reported that he isn't expected to miss this week's Dynamite. With Konosuke Takeshita and Kenny Omega on opposite sides of Blood and Guts this week, Callis will want to be close by, and thankfully, Callis will be okay after this worrying situation. And we're ending today with Bayley, who suffered a knee injury during a recent WWE event, but she was able to walk on her own 2 feet after the show. While Bayley was able to walk, albeit with a limp, there's a lot of questions about her condition, and WWE do not want to rush anything with the role model. Fightful Select reports that WWE sources have said that the company will have to wait for the swelling in her knee to go down before they can find out what's wrong, but her leaving without crutches is a good sign. Bayley is currently in an intense feud with Shotzi and continues to tease a split with Io Sky, but despite these current stories, WWE will not rush any plans with her until they know what's wrong.